All right, let's talk about how to make absolutely flawless steamed rice. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to get those perfectly fluffy separate grains every single time. And it's all about using controlled steam and sticking to a few really key steps.
So you can forget about all that sticky, gummy, or even undercooked rice. This method is all about using controlled steam to do the work for us, and I'm telling you, it guarantees fluffy, separate grains. Seriously, every single time.
So for about 2 servings, you only need 3 simple things. First, 1 cup of long grain rice. Then, 1½ cups of water, and that measurement is important. And finally, just a ½ teaspoon of salt.
The tools? Even simpler. You just need a pot with a really tight-fitting lid. And I mean it. That tight fit is non-negotiable for this to work. Oh, and you'll need a fork, but that's for the very end.
Okay, let's get into it. First up is preparation. And honestly, this is probably the most important part if you want that perfect fluffy texture.
So the very first thing you're going to do is rinse that cup of rice. You can use a fine mesh sieve under some cold running water, or you can just swish it around in a bowl. Either way works great.
Now, here's how you know you're done. You're going to keep rinsing until the water stops looking all cloudy and milky and starts running mostly clear. Once you see that, you're good. Just make sure you drain it really, really well.
So you might be thinking, do I really have to do this? Yes. But why is this step so important? What's it actually doing for the rice? Well, it's pretty simple actually. Rinsing gets rid of all that extra starch that's just sitting on the surface of the rice grains. You see, that starch is the culprit that makes rice sticky and clumpy. So by washing it away now, you're setting yourself up for success later.
All right, the rice is prepped and ready. Now we can move on to the actual cooking part, the steam method.
Now, before we add the water, let's tackle a really common mistake, the water ratio. You've probably seen a lot of recipes that say to use a 1:2 ratio, right? Well, that's a one-way ticket to mushy rice. For this steam method to work, the magic number is a 1 to 1.5 ratio. That's 1 part rice to 1½ parts water. Trust me on this. Okay, so let's do it. Take your well-drained rice, that 1½ cups of water, and the ½ teaspoon of salt and just combine them all in your pot. Next, put the pot on the stove and turn the heat up to high. What you're looking for here is a really strong, vigorous boil. We're talking big bubbles breaking the surface all over.
Okay, here's a really important warning. From this moment on, do not stir the rice. Seriously, put the spoon down, step away from the pot. It's a crucial rule for this method to work.
So, what's the big deal about stirring? Well, when you stir, you're basically breaking up those delicate rice grains. And when they break, they release more starch into the water. It totally undoes all that hard work we did with rinsing, and you'll end up right back where you started, with gummy rice. Okay, so the second you see that water hit a full boil, you have to act fast. Immediately put that tight-fitting lid on the pot and drop the heat all the way down to the lowest setting you have. We're officially switching from boiling to steaming now.
Go ahead and set a timer for somewhere between 12 and 14 minutes. This is where the magic really happens.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe the hardest, rule of the cooking phase. Do not lift the lid. I know it's tempting, but don't do it. Not even for a tiny peek. Every time you lift it, all that precious steam escapes, and that steam is what's cooking the rice. So keep it sealed.
So, once your timer goes off, the main cooking part is over. But, and this is a big but, we are not done yet. Now we enter the final and most patient phase, the rest.
Okay, so your next move is super simple. Just kill the heat and slide the pot off of that hot burner. Keep the lid on and just let it be. You're going to let it sit there, totally undisturbed, for a full 10 minutes. And believe me, this step is just as important as the actual cooking time. So why are we just letting it sit there? What's going on inside that pot for these 10 minutes that's so important? Well, that resting period lets all the leftover steam and moisture spread out evenly inside the pot. It basically finishes the cooking process very gently, and it makes sure that every single grain, from the top to the bottom, is perfectly tender. All right, the 10 minutes are up. Now we're ready for the big reveal. Let's finish this up and get our perfect rice ready to serve. Go ahead and lift the lid. Finally, you'll see all that steam whoosh out. Now grab that fork we talked about and just gently fluff the rice. The goal is just to separate the grains, not to mash them up. And here's your final check. Take a look. The grains should be totally separate, not sticking together in clumps. And if you take a bite, they should be tender all the way through. No hard or chucky bits in the middle.
And there it is. That's what you get when you follow these steps. Flawless steamed rice. It's perfectly fluffy, perfectly separate, and it'll turn out this way every time.